Cocktails with the homies.
Welcome to another episode of Cocktails with the Homies, friends. I'm your host, Danny. Today I'm hosted by a homie right here. We got Marty in the building with 7 grand. How you doing, Marty?
Doing well, man. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being on the show with us. Well, I guess we'll just dive right in. Tell us your name, where we're at, what you do here, and the basics first.
Right on. Yeah. My name is Marty. We are at 7 Grand San Diego, also home of the Blind Spot, also home of 7 Grand San Diego Spirit Society, formerly known as Whiskey Society. I am the host of that program as well as a bartender here.
Cool. Starting from the very top, how did you get involved with 7 grand, and what kind of drew you to a whiskey-centric style of venue?
Great question. So I worked in another North Park institution right across the street, Cafe Calabria. Started there in coffee, working on the roaster side.
Yeah.
Then we opened up this. We opened up this really authentic Neapolitan style pizzeria, and it was just incredible. And I was watching how the sort of front of the house was moving up there, and I was like, I've never really worked front of the house like that, not for a long time. I served a little bit here and there. So I started working the front door just to help them out, and then I just fell in love with the hospitality there, and I moved up to manager eventually, and then I was trained when we got full liquor.
Cool.
I started being trained as a bartender. I think we had Snake Oil Consulting come in, and they were really fun.
Hey, shout out Snake Oil.
Yeah, shout out Snake Oil.
Great company.
And it was cool, man. I remember looking at the recipe and having a lot of anxiety. It was like a Bellini. I was like, oh my God, when I put these 2 ingredients in this glass, how am I going to do it? But it was a lot of fun. And then right around that time, when they were getting full liquor over there, and they were building this beautiful bar out, and it was really fun. I would see these people come through getting coffee late, and they would all be wearing 3-piece suits and vests and ties, and I was like, where are they going? Where are you guys going? They're like, we just opened a bar around the corner called 7 Grand. We all work there. This is the uniform. I was like, I'll be over there when I get off. And I remember coming over here again, watching people make old fashions, what sorcery is this? And the bar was just so beautiful. And I kind of became a regular here, and then eventually I saw a position open up, and it was, I was a manager over there, but it was an entry-level position over here. And I was like, I went to the interview, and they were like, you sure you want to do this? They were like, how old are you? I was like, 33. They were like, damn, you sure you want to be a busser and a bar back? I was like, man, if I can be a bartender here, if I pay my dues, and if I can be a bartender in a year, then yes, I want to do it. And yeah, man, the rest is history, dude.
I kind of want to touch on that. I think it's really, really interesting, and how this kind of industry in particular, how you start somewhere but end up as a bartender. You know what I mean? It's so cool kind of seeing all the different avenues that lead to what you do now, and bartending, bar managing. It's really interesting how all these different walks of life encounter the hospitality industry and just some way wiggle into it,
yeah, man.
Super interesting of our industry, I think, in particular. But with the focus on whiskey cocktails coming here, have you what's your personal philosophy when taking on crafting one, and what do you look for in the finished product with whiskey?
That's a good question. We talked a little bit earlier about how there's not much new under the sun.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some amazing bartenders in our city in particular that can take crazy ingredients and come up with a wildly balanced cocktail. And I'm a bit more of a the kind of person who will take a classic cocktail and make a slight variation of it.
Sure.
And probably has already been done as well too. So basically I'm just looking for what tastes good to me. We only all have our only our own experience, our own sense of our own point of reference, you know what I mean? So I like to make what tastes good to me. It's just I guess it's just like cooking, if I make a salad or something and I take a bite of it, I'm like, what does this need? And does it need acid? Does it need, texture? And that's sort of, how I start. I start with the bones, the cocktail codex from Death & Co. Just start with, any sort of classic and maybe sub sub an Amaro for a liqueur. I mean, these are things that, that everyone does.
I like how you said that texture. Like, it's more than flavor.
Yeah.
I feel like when we kind of start diving into cocktails more and more, and taking it on more of a profession rather than a hobby, you start kind of expanding on, like you just said, textures, flavors, mouthfeel, kind of like how it leaves you when you drink it all the way, like how it lands in your palate after the fact. Like I like that. That shows kind of like a sense of wisdom in what you think about in terms of a finished cocktail.
I'm glad you said that, because personally I haven't had a lot of experience in building menus. That's something I still want to do. Normally that's been someone else's role, and I have been lucky enough to be given the opportunity to be the the manager of the program in which we teach people about whiskey and about spirits. So
sure.
I've spent more time in the past 3 years tasting spirits neat, but it's the same thing. And when I'm talking to people and I'm hosting a whiskey tasting or a spirit tasting, I always ask them, not what do you taste. So you're not looking necessarily for like a dark cherry note or a tobacco note. It's more like, is it balanced? Is it sweet, or is it dry, or is it somewhere in the middle? Is it strong? Is it hot, or is it mellow? Somewhere in the middle. And is it viscous? Is it full bodied, or is it weak bodied, or somewhere in the middle? And do you like that? And then another one is length. Like, is it a short finish or is it a long finish? And again, with cocktails or with food, I think finish is like probably the thing I pay the most attention to, because that's what we spend the most time with. And then presentation. I'm sorry, to kind of circle back to cocktails. Whenever I'm making a cocktail, man, I always kind of treat it like a little bit of art, like a little picture.
Oh, it is.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
We always talk about how you drink with your eyes first. I want that color to be beautiful. I want the clarity to be, what I want it to be. And maybe you want it to be translucent, opaque. Maybe you want it to be, transparent, garnish. I mean, that's what it's all about, man.
Sure.
Even when I'm making, food at home.
All aspects. That's why you slap the mint.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you put the straw next to the aromatics.
Yeah.
So when people drink it in, they smell it.
And then it's the theater of it, because oftentimes our drinks take some time to make. I'm making a round of,
arguably the most important part.
Absolutely. And people, I'll feel like I'm taking forever, and people are like just enthralled with watching the theater of it. And I studied a bit of theater. That's why I came to California to begin with. I was going to do some TV and film production, and I just came to this city instead of Los Angeles. Fell in love with hospitality, and I'm just glad. I'm just happy it happened that way.
Well, bringing up LA, 7 Grand has really deep roots in LA, right? How do you think that's kind of translated into its own identity here in San Diego? You were talking about like seeing the 3-piece suits and everything. Like, how's that kind of evolved since you've been here?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Especially in this neighborhood. When I moved here, I moved into this neighborhood 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I lived behind Alexander's and was going to Bluefoot.
A little rough.
That was the spot.
Ago,
I mean, parts of it were a little bit, I wouldn't, it always felt, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, born and raised in a village in Ohio called Yellow Springs, and I went to Columbus, Ohio, and some of the city is beautiful, some of it is a little like sort of underdeveloped, and never felt unsafe, but it was always not as polished. Whereas like now, this neighborhood is beautiful.
Yeah,
like storefronts, and it's fantastic. It's like way beyond gentrified. I don't know what happens after you fully became gentrified.
I think it just became a
you just
community
arrived,
here, dude.
right? Yeah, it's just arrived. And I love it. But 15 years ago, rather than it being like rough, there just wasn't as much stuff here. So this is what Pouring with Heart has done for a long time. They find a sort of a community or a neighborhood in the city that has a ton of potential, and they see it, and they try to get in before it sort of grows around them.
Yeah.
And they were lucky enough to do that. Collaborated did the same thing. They did it like 35 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Which was brilliant. Now look at us. We're surrounded by beautiful venues all over the place doing amazing things. And so to sort of answer your question, when 7 Grand came in to this neighborhood, if I remember correctly, there weren't that many bars that were doing cocktails quite like this. I think Polite Provisions was over there already, I believe, around the same time frame.
Yeah.
So I think the rising tide lifted all boats for both bars.
For sure.
So people will come to the neighborhood for one of the two bars and then go to the other. Now people come to the neighborhood because they know there's, you know, a dozen bars within walking distance. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. You can go to Part-Time Love, you can come here, you can go to Botanica, and then tribute for some of the best food in the city, and not to, you know, forget a bunch of other bars that are absolutely dope in this neighborhood. So it's just it's become a hub, and I think it deserves, you know, recognition, you know,
for sure,
on a national level, you know, maybe international level.
You guys are definitely on your way there. Absolutely, especially, you know, with this whiskey society and kind of like educating your guests on a different level, which is really cool.
Yeah, man, we started that in LA actually. Shout out to my man Pedro. I think Pedro was the one who found the sort of what we were able to do and how we were able to collaborate with brands, and brands, you know, we basically gave the brand the platform to talk about their product with the community that we curated. So it's really the same the same model. Now we have a community here that we have curated a large list of people that I send invites to every week, and they come here because they trust us to bring, you know, dope brands and really, you know, high production value of events to our space. And we've been doing that for twice a week for like the past 9 years, but just recently we're doing it only on Saturday now, so we can put all of our energy into just one event per week.
One solid event.
Yeah, and because it used to be only whiskey, right? But now we have the Blind Spot open, and we felt like we loved the three-piece. We loved it. It was fantastic. But our options back there were limited, so people would come back there, and we realized that people wanted more than just whiskey, neat, old fashions, and Manhattan. So we were like, okay, let's bring full spirits back there. Let's make a really interesting cocktail list. John and Roger are doing an excellent job of that, and, you know, now we can, you know, make almost anything that people ask for. But with that, I'm able to start bringing in brands, agave spirits. I can bring in brandy, cognac, gin, aperitivos, anything. And people are responding to it. And I wasn't sure, because I was like, this is a whiskey, you know, group. But, you know, we had Randy with Mezcal Amaras last week, and it sold out. Nice. People want to drink mezcal, and that makes me really happy, because that's what I want.
One of the biggest spirits growing right now, you know.
Absolutely, man.
Blowing up. It's well, but I'm glad you touched on that. You know, 7 Grand recently rebranded Bar 3-Piece into the Blind Spot, which was a full whiskey focused concept, right? So how have you and your team kind of adapted to the change in brands from like just whiskey to full bar, and like what difficulties have you had to overcome with rebranding? Because that's a big step.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the biggest challenges is just, you know, having sorry, my phone's ringing. Having turning a bar from a space, a program in which you're only pouring neat or on the rocks and making, you know, 3 direct cocktails, into needing the tools to be able to make, you know,
whatever,
a full breadth of cocktails. So let me just make sure we have all of, you know, our tools in place, make sure, you know, we have enough glassware for everything. I know this is just, you know, sort of the basics, making sure that our pars are straight, but mostly it's exciting for me, again, because I was telling you before, because I was, you know, so focused on just, you know, tasting straight spirits, I get to get back into making cocktails again. Okay. So before I come to shift, I'll you know, go into my books and be like, these are 5 cocktails I want to make. I'm going to write down these specs and put them in my pocket. So when I come in here, you know, if someone wants, you know, a tequila cocktail that's not a margarita, I've got something lined up.
Sure.
Or, you know, I don't know. Again, I can read about cocktails all day long. I love it. It's exciting for me. It's inspiring. But if I'm not making them, I can't remember how to do it. I can't. I can take a written test, but if I come in, I'm like, I've been studying this for 3 days, and I get in front of the well, like,
gone.
What was in that cocktail? I need to make it, and that's how I remember. So that's been my biggest challenge, is sort of remembering how to make cocktails.
Well, kind of brings me again into my next question. Since changing into the blind spot, what non-whiskey cocktails have you kind of embraced?
Oh man, let me tell you, I'm a tropical cocktail enthusiast, a tiki cocktail for lack of better words. So people always think that when I'm at home, I'm like sitting in a robe drinking whiskey neat by a fireplace. It's true, I am sitting at home in a robe, but I'm drinking a tiki cocktail out of a ceramic mug with a whole bunch of garnishes and fucking.
So you do that at home too? You set it all up and everything?
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Cool.
Like that's you got to. That's the ritual, man.
Yeah.
So that's what my girl at home gets a lot, is she gets tiki cocktails because those are the flavors that I love. I love going to Grass Skirt, False Idol, to my 2 favorite bars in the city, man. I just
killer.
I love the escapism, and I just love the flavors,
Mm-hmm. So. I mean, I'm a fan of tiki cocktails. So is Alex back here.
Yeah.
That's kind of how this all started. We used to get tiki cocktails at Polite from Julio and the gang over there, and then it just like kind of snowballed into us, wanting to try more and talk more.
Yeah, man.
Right.
That's a fascinating, part of the cocktail history, man. Tiki's special.
How it all started. From grog to these craft cocktails.
There is this sort of the appropriation of the South Pacific, culture, which can be kind of problematic, of course, but they innovated, Don and Vic innovated cocktails, with using citrus and baking spice and blending rums. Like that was, dude.
Yeah,
that was incredible, man.
And then coming to here to super juices, like finding how to take 30 limes in 1 liter to 9 liters, and like,
dude, I have like 3 videos saved on YouTube to watch how to do that, and I still haven't done it yet. But like, I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, it's cool because again, like, I think it's really cool how we can take something so simple as putting lime juice, a spirit, some sugar, but then we go, I could do it cheaper. It's like other necessities that you need to accommodate, then expand your cocktail, which is, again, really cool to our industry in particular, because no one else does that. You can't look at law and be like, oh, I can do this with it.
Let me add some spice to that.
I can change this law. No, but you can take lime juice for what people usually know it as, and then just create something so cool. But that wasn't even the coolest part. The coolest part is that it cost 1/3 of the price. To a lot of people. I think that's awesome.
Or take some lime juice and add some add acid to it. Make it what do they call it? Acid adjust it.
Yeah,
or acid
acidulated.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I also haven't done, but I'm also fascinated by it.
Yeah, it's just cool. It's cool. Again, it's just a different avenue of the same kind of thing that you can learn about. I think it's awesome. As an original member of the team here, though, how have you seen the whiskey cocktail culture evolve in San Diego? Like, I know obviously you guys implemented this whole society, but how has that kind of changed it around?
That's a very good question. I think that we definitely, us and Aero Club and Whiskey House have definitely given the community, the San Diego sort of drinking community, a place to come in where we take our spirit seriously.
Sure.
And I know there's other bars who take Cantina Manuel and La Puerta, they take their agave just as seriously as we take our whiskey. And we try not to take it too seriously. We want it to still be approachable. So we're able to sort of strike that balance and give people a place to come to be enthusiasts, but not feel like they're things are going over their head.
Yeah.
So when it comes to just whiskey drinking, that's what I think that we strive to do.
Yeah.
That's that sort of the note we strive to hit.
Well, just hearing you talking about the whiskey and how you kind of like approached it, to me it seemed like super amateur friendly. Like you're kind of teaching them the basics. Like, it doesn't matter if you can describe this as coffee notes.
Sure.
What matters is, like, do you even understand first?
Sure, absolutely.
So I definitely see kind of the allure to an amateur going, like, because personally, starting in alcohol, it was scary. Like, you don't know anything, and you try to talk to these people who apparently know everything. So it's like, it's a hard kind of to level out.
when I first, got behind the bar back there when it was bar 3-piece, like my first shift, I remember looking at that wall and being like, oh my God, I got to go home this weekend and learn a little something about every one of these things. And I went home and I tried to do that. And then when I got here, I was just like, again, it was like reading cocktail books. I'm like, I don't know what what I studied. So what I did was I just was like, look, I'm going to treat this as if I'm going to retire here when I'm 80, and I'm going to learn a little bit every day. And if I don't know something, I'm going to be honest about it, and we'll find out together. So, but what I did was every day I just learned a little bit. And then before I knew it, months had gone by, years had gone by, and I had learned a little bit, and I had accumulated, knowledge intentionally that I could pass on to people. And if I didn't know, then I would find that out, as opposed to trying to, do it all at once. It has to be like a steady approach, 1% better every day.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then before you know it, 1%, and then you forget the stuff you learned at the beginning. You got to learn that all over again. But that's what I try to do in order to be of service to our community who comes in here to drink whiskey.
That's awesome.
And again, I'm never trying to be the smartest person in the room. I never have been. But what I can do always is provide excellent hospitality and make sure people feel seen and heard and safe. And that's when it boils down. That's what all of this boils down to for me. You know?
What a super humble opinion about that.
I think that's important, man.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, bro, we're just drinking. You know, this is like a commonality that we all like to share, and the people sometimes fucking kill it. When you're too fucking smart, like you just kill the vibe about it.
Let me tell you, man, I'd been in these tastings before, and there were times where the conversation would start going over everyone's head, and my head as well, and I'm like, look, I felt uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, maybe I don't know enough. And then if I don't feel like I don't know enough, then these people aren't going to want to come back. I want to make sure that they want to come back because they had a good time. So the number one thing I wanted was them to have fun and enjoy what we're doing. Second, we can become better consumers.
Sure.
And third, we're building a community in which people come to be with each other and make friends and with us, and just happen to be drinking really dope spirits at the same time.
Have you seen that happen before? Do you see like a bunch of these people come in very amateur-like, don't know, and then like 5 times later they're coming in ordering like really good whiskey? You're like, okay,
absolutely, man.
I see you now.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things is sometimes I'll curate a flight, and people will drink through it, and I'll say, what did you like? What was your favorite? Someone would say, I really hated this one. I really didn't like this one. And at first I was like, oh no, I picked that out for you. Then I was like, you know what? You're welcome. That's the most important one. Because you're not going to go buy a bottle of that, or you're not going to pull up to a bar and be like, maybe I want that, and waste your money. So you're welcome.
Get swindled at $45 for a neat shot,
So that's the most important one, as long as, it doesn't make you nauseous.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure being a bar manager, kind of running these whiskey societies, it's a lot. So how do you see yourself separating the stress of work from your personal life? Because that is quintessential in a bartender's life. Being able to fucking cut the two.
Dude, let me
turn off your phone.
Let me tell you, it's tough. Like,
even
this morning, I wake up every day, like, I forgot to do something. I'm probably not doing something right now that I need to do or should have done yesterday, but I do my best to make sure that doesn't happen. And then I'm lucky. I live in Pacific Beach, one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and I've been to many beaches, and I love this town. And there's a swimming pool at Belmont Park that I have a membership to. So I'll get on my bike, I'll ride down the boardwalk. There's a little light weightlifting area next to it. Hit a little bit of weights, go in there, swim. There's a cold plunge and a sauna.
Ooh.
And then on the way back, I'll just walk on the beach, put my, we call it like earthing, or put your feet in the sand and connect to the earth barefoot, put my feet in the water. And
it's real, man.
Dude, and ride my bike home, and
energies are real.
Absolutely, man. And I listen to like different radio frequencies. Or I'm sorry, not radio frequencies, different sound, like crystal. My God, one of my best friends sell these. He's gonna be mad. I can't remember what they're called, like crystal bowls. People play those things, and it truly works, man. I'll do, I'll listen to that while I'm doing yoga or hitting the weights or walking, riding my bike, and it really takes my mind off of what I think I might need to do, or audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, Game of Thrones and like Lord of the Rings and sci-fi and stuff like that, and I find that listening and taking my mind off of something to concentrate on something else gives my mind a chance to just sort of like rest, because like you said, this is a lot, and I've have a lot of responsibility and a lot of things to sort of keep track of, and if I didn't do all those things, I probably wouldn't be able to escape it. So
I like that you touched on that. It's more than physical escape. It's more than like escaping your normal routine. It's like getting your head right, forgetting about things, or like just putting them aside for a moment, and just like centering, getting all your energy back to a spot where you can again go from a place to give, rather than like just keep giving and you never stop and give back.
Right.
That's super important.
Trying to find that balance, man.
Yeah, I think us as people in this industry got to go a little bit more, because I feel like this shit can take you way further.
You took the words out of my mouth. Another thing it's been on my mind lately is just drinking less, consuming less, not burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
There's always something happening, and it's always so much fun. You see these events that these really awesome brands are throwing all the time, and like I want to go to all of them.
Sure.
Or when I get off here, I'm like, there's so many cool bars here, I want to go hang out at all of them. And don't get me wrong, like if you can, you definitely should, but for me, like I need to go home. You know what I mean? I need to skip some of these parties, and so that I can wake up the next day and take care of my health. We all need to take care of our health in this industry, man. We're up late,
and it may seem crazy, and our hours may seem fucking insane, but do it. I go to the gym 1 in the morning, 8 in the morning.
Yeah, man.
It doesn't matter, bro. Whenever you find a minute, just get yourself right.
Yeah.
Get some energy in you. Get your blood pressure up.
Yeah.
You gotta do something healthy, bro.
And I got in this industry late, like I mentioned, and I'm 41, so I really have to take my health more seriously.
For sure.
And I took it less seriously in my early days. I was like, this is glamorous. This is what we're doing. We're partying.
Yeah.
And at some point, I still have fun. I just went to Cross, a great time.
Yeah.
I still like to rage, but I like to do it, in a more responsible way and in a balanced way. So you really can't burn the candle at both ends. I know it's a cliche, but it will catch up to you.
Cliche for a reason, my man.
100%.
Because it happens,
And then if you're not sleeping properly, and then you'll be in front of a guest, and your mind won't work like it should. You won't be able to remember how to, the history of one of these spirits you need to tell them about, if you could, or specs of a cocktail.
Yeah.
At least for me, like I get a foggy brain.
I just had that happen. I had a guest ask me about an Army Navy, and I was like, I looked like I never had made that before in my life, and I was like so embarrassed.
I want everyone to hear this, because this right here, this is a hilarious story, and it had to do with me, and again, it might be, I have a little bit of like an attention deficit disorder, and maybe I'm not managing that properly, but I was in the middle of making 2 Negronis for 2 bartenders. I don't know them that well, but I know that they know what a Negroni is.
Yeah.
I wanted to impress them because I think they're very cool, and I was actually off, but they were still standing there, and the person hadn't come to take over the well for me, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna make these for you. You guys need a drink? I mean, I got you. What do you have? And they're like, oh, two Negronis. I was like, cool, got you. At some point, I get distracted and I start making a Sazerac instead. So basically I poured them 2 Negronis up in warm glasses. And I didn't realize it until the next day. I'm sitting at home like watching, I don't know, Netflix or something, and I'm like, oh my God, did I not ice those Negronis? And I texted our group, and I was like, this happened. I'm gonna DM them and tell them I did it, and I'm sorry. And they were like, don't do that. I'm like, I already did. I already messaged them. I never got a response, but I just need the world to know that I know how to make a Negroni.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's true, man. It is fucking true. You need to, like, give yourself a minute, bro, because then,
yeah, man.
You know, like, obviously you know how to do it, but you get caught tired and it's not a terrible slip up.
No, I mean, like, you know, it was probably
still
balanced. It just wasn't cold. It was just warm.
But we take pride in our work, so
exactly.
You know, that's just you holding yourself responsible.
It was weird how it just popped up and I was just like, I don't know what I was watching. I was like, oh my God.
It happens. It happens.
What have I done?
So, you know, we kind of dove into a lot of different topics and aspects, and we talked about how you got started. But if you had advice to give to someone who is trying to kind of break into this industry, what's something kind of timeless that you've learned?
And I think this is really important, especially for someone like myself who got into this industry a little bit later, is that every position for me in bars and restaurants, there's pride in all of them. You know, there is no, you know, peon positions. There's no, you know, every part of it is necessary. And so and as a barback, when you start bartending, you'll still be doing the exact same things. You can't be a good bartender without knowing how to be a good barback. And you keep those same, you know, those same habits, you know, and so starting at the bottom, if you will, isn't something to, you know, to think that somehow, like, oh, I shouldn't have to start at the bottom. I can just go be a bartender. Like, no, you have to pay. You don't have to, but you should pay your dues, and you should take pride in paying your dues. And this is a very old industry, and I guess what I'm trying to get at is two things: is humility, being humble, and treating your guest with respect always. Everyone doesn't know what they don't know. Yeah. So it's important to, rambling a little bit. How about this?
I don't think you're rambling.
Okay, cool.
I think that you're on to something that a lot of people disregard. Mm-hmm. A lot of people just don't bring that point up often. Mm-hmm. But your most valuable employee is the dude washing the dishes.
Absolutely. And they deserve respect.
Without them, you're washing the dishes. Right. You know, like.
And hopefully you have washed the dishes, so you know what that hard work is like and how necessary that is.
Because you're never above that.
And that person washing the dishes should have self-respect. And they should be respected by their peers. And another thing is, oftentimes I feel like bartenders will sort of be just trying to impress their peers as opposed to taking care of their regular guests. Mm-hmm. And also there would be, you know, I'd be bartending here sometimes and someone would come in and say, I'm like, oh, so what do you do? And they'll say, oh, well, I bartend at like Fridays, but it's not like this. I'm like, dude, it's exactly like this. Does someone come in and order something off your menu and you give it to them? Does that make them happy? Why do the same thing here? Just have a different product. Yeah. So it's all hospitality, man. That's what it all boils down to.
Which, side note,
our guests.
The bartenders at Fridays fucking crush it.
Of course they do.
They make so much.
I couldn't believe it when they said that. They were like, I'm a bartender at Fridays, not like you. I'm like, dude, I mean,
bro,
do you have any open shifts?
Money is money. I don't give a
Absolutely. And people want what you have, so they come in and get it from you. You know what I mean? No matter what you're doing, anywhere. You know, it's all about taking care of the guests, man.
And that's where humility comes in, man. Like, you know the bartenders there crush it and make hella money, but you know, you got this guy somewhere else going, well, I bartend here and that's better, but
right, like, I'm gonna use sweet and sour mix. I don't like your ingredients. Like, who cares?
You know, like,
you don't have to go there and drink it, but people do, and it makes them happy.
Exactly.
And so they have someone there to provide them hospitality, and that's what it's all about, man. It's just, you know. That's the number one thing. Of course, techniques, knowledge, all those things make us better professionals. But the number one thing that keeps our business going and our industry alive is the people who choose to come through our doors, sit down, order off our menu, and are happy.
Yeah.
And feel seen and heard.
And this is why the people at $7 grand keep pouring with love, you know? That's what you guys do. Well, thank you so much, Marty. I appreciate you for taking your time out, sharing a little bit of your wisdom with the people that we show this content to, and hopefully it changes some lives. Hopefully it makes some lives better, but at the very end of the day, they know your life humble as it is.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I just want to
absolutely.
tell you, it's an honor. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's fantastic.
Appreciate you.
And as soon as I saw it the first time, I was like, I want to be on that.
Hey, well, here we are, my man. Don't forget, well, real quick, tell the people what time 7 Grand is open. Tell people what time Blind Spot, and where they can go sign up for your Whiskey Society.
Yes, thank you, brother. So 7 Grand is open 7 days a week. We open at 4 o'clock, happy hour from 4 to 8, 7 days a week. We close at 2 o'clock in the morning every day of the week as well. Blind Spot is open Wednesday through Saturday, 8 o'clock, also open till last call. We have DJs back there Friday and Saturday. We got live music up here, I believe Thursday through Saturday as well. Spirit Society is every Saturday, 7 o'clock at night, $35, absolute screaming deal. You can sign up for that, for the email list if you want by going to our Instagram, going to our link tree. You can sign up for Spirit Society, or if you just check our Instagram on Sunday, it'll tell you what we're doing every week.
Hell yeah, you heard it here, folks. Come by 7 Grand, catch Marty, catch a drink, grab a party, whatever you want. All right, friends, this is another episode of Cocktails with the Homies. Sheesh.